think of it as the arc. The arc of the universe bends towards transformation. So everything is rigged in our favor. Everything is on this path of renewal, supporting us to renew, even when it can be difficult or challenging, and certainly it has been this last year, right, for all of us. There's been something that's been hard or isolating or physically challenging or emotionally, spiritually. So it's important for us to think about and to be and live into the context and consciousness that we have. So along with this context and consciousness, in Buddhism, there's an idea of awakening that's the two wings of awareness. And so those two wings are wisdom and compassion. So back to the idea that we can see and direct our thoughts. The wisdom is, what do we see? How clearly and how honestly and truthfully can we see what is right in the midst of our experience, right where we are? And then the compassion part is how do we hold it? How kindly and lovingly and compassionately can we be the witness that sees what we're seeing? So, so the degree that I can be loving and hold and just behold what may be hard in my path right now is the degree that I can see more clearly. And so, so in order to fly, and to be in this winged bird of freedom, there's compassion and wisdom. So speaking of it being hard, I have another little story from somebody else that I follow, Tara Brach. Okay, so she's a Buddhist teacher. She does retreats, and so somebody at one of her mindfulness retreats wrote a poem. So they was being mindful after a meal, right? So she tells this story. This man, after being mindful of a meal, he wrote this little poem, and it's called "Feels True." Settling into what is here, what is true. The felt sense that I ate too much. Sit with the fear that I'm getting fat. Hand on belly. I offer compassion and receive instead confirmation. So, a little humor helps along the path too, right? We got to take ourselves lightly to navigate this sometimes. So it's a path of renewal that includes wisdom and compassion, loving and accepting what is right here where we are. So when I think about these questions, who are we? What are we doing here? Where are we? I think about renewal and being right here. It can only be here. There is no there. Consciousness is here, right here. There is no it, there is no there. So whatever we think we are or we need to be, I think when we think about renewal and enlightenment, sometimes I think we need to be more spiritually evolved and then we'll be there. We need to be more forgiving or more healed in our relationships, or we need to be more whole, or maybe we need to be more financially secure, or we need to have a partner. Whatever it is, we think it's there. And really, the renewal and the consciousness can only be here, So I think about spirit being right here in this infinite consciousness that's in this finite form, that we're limited by, by a body with memories and thoughts and emotions and triggers and reactions and all that we live into. So it's how can I invite that consciousness and remember it right in the midst of what I'm doing. It calls for a greater imagination. Rev Guy talked about that a few weeks ago. We need to have a bigger idea of God. We need to have a bigger idea of what could be possible right here and now. And that can be, that's the work, that's the practice. So I think about how can I have spirit right here and now in the midst of whatever I'm going through. So for me, and I think maybe it might be true for some of you during the pandemic, I noticed that I slid into some sedentary habits and some habits that weren't really as healthy as they could be. So I found myself wanting to do something to practice getting back into a healthier physical experience. And so I've been doing this app called Noom. And so it reminds me what to eat, to plan things, but it also has me weigh myself every day. I'm like, oh man, talk about confronting the here and now, right in this moment. So I get to look at this number every day. And so I think in the past I had this idea that there is a number there that I wanted to, if I'm there, then I'm okay. That's where the spiritual good is. And so this practice helps me see, I get to look down and say, okay, here I am. Here's spirit right here and now. And that's been the practice of this. It hasn't really been about eating healthier or exercising more or whatever. It's actually been a practice of how can I invite myself, how can I invite and the spirit of love right here and now for however I am. How can I be grateful for whatever physical embodiment I'm here? How can I be grateful for my breath or my health or whatever it is right in this moment, right in this number, rather than this using it to judge and shame or criticize myself. So that's part of it, is where are we? It's right here. The other part is when is it? It's right now. And so I think back to, our teaching symbol and the idea that there's spirit that's manifesting, involuting in through a subjective mind, into to manifestation. And when we get wrapped around the axle and we get it kind of backwards, we think that the condition is there. So it's about consciousness creating the condition rather than the condition creating consciousness. I think sometimes it's if I think about the symbol and I think about the teaching symbol and there's spirit and there's manifestation, it's not that there's two halves of the same, of separate parts of the circle. It's all the same circle. So it's all right here, right now. So Ernest Holmes says, here and now, we're surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. How much of this infinite good is ours? All of it. And how much of it may we have to use? As much of it as we can embody.